LinkedIn. They'll go straight to Amazon to take a look at your books, because that's what I usually do. But I will be doing that this week for you. And then on next Monday, I'll follow up and do another one on you. So that's what I'm going to be doing from now on, starting with you.
Ah, thank you. That makes me feel very loved and special.
My pleasure. But I want to just get started off by just saying, hello everyone, and I'm Marlene Foster with Empower Vision, and today's guest will be Sarah Willoughby. And Sarah is a best-selling author, transformation coach, and she's got a story for you today, and one that I have been wowed by. You know, I always write about writers who wow, and so we'll be talking today to an author. Believe me, that I'm going to really have a really nice conversation with today. And her book is Infertility Saved My Life. And you know what I love about that? Listen to the name of Infertility Saved My Life. She's telling you right there something. There was a time that she's going to tell you in her story where she actually turned fear around, guys, and decided that she was going to move forward and not only just change her life, but change the life of others. And to get started today, I wanted to share with you something that one of the readers wrote about Sarah. And I thought this was amazing. And she said that Sarah's writing is impactful, thoughtful, and thoughtfully inspiring. Sarah Willoughby has written more than a story inspiring hope. Infertility Saved My Life contains transformative tools, exercises, and insight that can be applied to your life right now. She says Sarah's commitment to supporting others to welcome a healthy baby into the world, along with her emphasis on the power of mind, body, spirit, connection, makes her book both accessible and inspiring. Sarah, that's deep. Thank you. And thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for joining us. And I just wanted to start by asking you, could you just tell us a little bit about your fascinating family and the three, children that you have, and tell us what it's like living in Australia versus the UK. I had to ask.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure. And thank you so much for having me on today. So I have three beautiful children. They are 17, a son called Isaac, and then I have a daughter, Maddie, who's 12, and another daughter, Grace, who's 8. So we're going through all ages and stages. We're teaching my son to drive, and we're still at tea parties and dancing. So we're going through, it all. And they are my biggest blessings, my greatest teachers. They inspire me to do what I do. I do this for them, and they are obviously a big part of my story. And I moved to Australia from the UK back in 2009. That's a big part of my story, which we can obviously go into. But I moved here because it's a little bit warmer, Marlene, than the UK. It doesn't rain as much. And I am very, very connected to the outdoors. And here I have so many beautiful beaches on my doorstep. I can drive for half an hour and there's just countryside everywhere. And I feel like I've come home. And I have such gratitude for that, because I appreciate that not everybody is so privileged as I am to be able to experience the great outdoors every single day.
Sarah, see that, you know what? And then from reading, looking at your profile and everything, so you just let me know that your children are old. So when your book, though, is talking about years ago, correct? About what happened to you. Could you tell us your story? You went from working with a corporation and you went from there to your own business. Tell us your story, Sarah.
Sure. So I was doing what I thought was the life that was expected of me. I want to start there. I was living a life by other people's expectations. I had done all the things. I'd gone to school, a very good school. I'd gone on to university. That was the natural step. I spent 6 years studying at university. I went on and got all my professional qualifications. And I worked for companies in corporate HR like Rolls-Royce and Airbus, the plane manufacturer. And I'd worked my way up the corporate ladder. And I'd got there and I felt very disillusioned. I didn't deal well with the office politics, the stress, the dealing with trade unions and the legal side of HR. But I loved the people side of HR. I loved helping people with their personal growth, development, supporting them, helping them resolve their personal issues. So I had this kind of inner conflict going on, that there were aspects of the job that I loved and aspects of the job that I hated. But I didn't know how to leave. And I felt like I look back at it and it's so ironic. I felt like I was too old to leave, because I put so much of my life and my past into getting to where I was. And I had, from the outside looking in, the perfect American dream going on. So I had that inner conflict. And at the same time, I was going on this crazy journey through secondary infertility. So I'd already had my beautiful little boy, and everything had been fine with that. I'd conceived him very quickly, almost on my honeymoon. He was born 2 months prem, so he was born at 7 months. I wasn't prepared for that. When I was actually giving birth for real, I was supposed to be in my antenatal class of this is how you give birth. So I was doing that blind. And that was quite a journey, going through that sort of NICU experience with him. Very grateful that I got to take him home. Not everybody did. And I certainly saw things in hospital that will stay with me forever. From there, I just assumed, because even though I knew that I had an underlying medical condition, I've got PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, I knew that I just thought, well, I'm going to conceive again. There's no problem. And it didn't go like that. I went for 2 years without conceiving. I did conceive. I was like, oh, wonderful, amazing. And then I had a missed miscarriage. Didn't even know what a missed miscarriage was. And I went through that journey and I grieved, and was very blessed to be offered a funeral service for my baby by the local chaplain, which was very, very healing. And then got put through the medical system, lots of medication, testing, referred to the fertility clinic eventually, but had gone on this really sort of traumatic journey up until that point, and decided to go over to Norway to go through IVF over there, because it was an awful lot cheaper. You saw the same medical team every appointment. And naively, I thought I could turn it into a holiday and take the stress out of that 2-week wait. And it became anything but a holiday, let me tell you. My body ended up reacting very badly to the drugs, didn't like the drugs, and I overstimulated and then hyperstimulated, and gradually my body just started to shut down. There was nothing the doctors could do to save me. It was just a case of time and allowing my body to do the healing. And I had this moment where I watched my 3-year-old son walk out of the hospital doors with his grandma, who'd fortunately come over with us to take him back to the UK. And he sort of turned around and smiled at me and waved. And I didn't know whether I was ever going to see my beautiful boy again. What I experienced in hospital was pretty confronting and pretty traumatic. And that's shared in my book. There's lots of other sort of little stories that were going on and playing out. But I made a promise. I made a deal with the universe. If you give me a second chance at life, if you bless me with a second chance at life, I will spend the rest of my life serving. I will spend the rest of my life facing my fears, walking towards those things that terrify me, but yet my soul knows that I need to do. And I will support and empower other people to do the same thing. And spoiler alert, I'm obviously okay. I'm here. So I made it through that time. And I went back to the UK. I recovered. I went back over to Norway and had a frozen embryo transfer. Totally different process, no drugs involved, very safe for me to do that. Fell pregnant with twins. Thought, wow, this was how it was supposed to be. I'd always had this romantic notion of what twins were going to be. And this was probably the only way it was going to happen for me. And unfortunately, I lost one of the twins and then the other one. And during that time, I'd made the decision that I was going to emigrate over to Australia to begin a new life. Didn't know anybody, had no jobs to go to, wanted to throw everything up in the air and see where it landed, because I felt like I'd got nothing left to lose. I'd already faced the most challenging thing and come out the other side. And so originally we were coming out as a family of 5 and very excited to start a new life, even though it was scary because we only had a certain amount of money to sustain us and hope that it worked out. But unfortunately, I lost one of the twins and then I lost the other one. And at that point, I fully surrendered. I fully surrendered to life. I didn't know what life was trying to tell me or teach me, other than I needed to enjoy the life that I was actually living, not the one that I was trying to create in my mind, not the one that I was aspiring to, but the one that I was actually in right now. And we do tend to spend a lot of our lives dwelling on the past, thinking about the past, worrying about the future. And we forget that right here, right now is all we have. And what we do here right now creates our future, creates our vision, creates our dreams, and gives us the opportunity to move through life with more ease and grace. So when I came out to Australia, I did surrender, and I felt that in my body. I just felt peaceful for the first time. I felt like I had come home. And within 6 weeks, I fell pregnant with my beautiful daughter, who is now 12, Maddie, who I've already mentioned. And it wasn't an easy pregnancy, and there were lots of complications. And 4 years later, I had another little girl, and again, very, very difficult pregnancy and complications, but so very, very blessed to have completed my family. And because of that journey that I went on, which is a very difficult mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and financial journey, I'm just committed to supporting other people who are still on it, because it's hard. We don't talk about it. There's a lot of silence, stigma, and shame around it, and it needs to change. It needs to change.
Sarah, I don't know, just sitting here, just, listening to you, and I realize how blessed we all are for procreation. We really,
Yes.
truly are, because listening to you, I myself have, I've lost a child before, and after being actually getting pregnant again with my daughter I have today, when I left, I left my husband at that time. I was 7 months pregnant, and I got here, and it had to actually, once I got here, I was hired pretty quickly. Believe me, by a broker dealer. So I was on the road traveling a lot. So I decided I didn't want her to consume the artificial milk that they have on the market. So I pumped milk on the road. I was flying to different cities, and I was pumping milk and still sending it back to her. And when my mom said I was either a good mother or I was insane. So I told her maybe I'm a little bit of both. But you just took my mind back to myself. And you're right. And as women, I read today and I actually listened to podcasts that you've done that talked about women. And you were saying that a lot of times what we do is we press and push, and we do what we have to do for families, for our children, and we don't think about ourselves. And we push and push and push. And I know what it is you're talking about. And now my daughter is, of course, she's gone now, and she now has my granddaughter, and I still miss her. So I still feel there's an emptiness around that surrounds me right now. And so now that's something that I'm having to deal with myself. And so I love that you talked about that, because there are a lot of women out there like myself, who would really love to hear more from you about situations like that, because we are women. You're right. That's what we do. And it comes naturally. And you know what I'm saying, Sarah. It's not being really, it's what we feel, it's innate. And we feel like we have to do this.
Yeah, it's the roles that we've been told we need to play through society from just such a young age. And it's also the biological stuff that kicks in. And it's very tricky to navigate out of that and to take a step back and say, who am I? What do I need and want in life? And by doing that, I can be best placed to serve other people and be there for other people, because I'm already filled up from that self-connection. But we deny that. We give to ourselves last, but yet we still expect to be able to give everything to everybody else. And so it's this vicious cycle that's very, very hard. It's that hamster wheel that's very, very hard to get off. And for me, I learned that lesson the hard way. But we don't have to. And that's why I'm sharing my story, because I want to support other women to, whether they're going through an infertility journey or not, to realize that the relationship they have with self is the most important one. It's the only one that really matters, and not in a selfish way. Of course, we're going to love and be there for other people and give to other people, but if we can't give to ourselves, we're not living with authenticity. We're not practicing self-care. And it's so important, so very important.
And some of the women though that you've impacted, whose lives you've impacted, would you say your book? Who is your book? Who's a target audience for your book? I was just curious because I was learning more about.
So the target audience for my book is obviously women and couples who are going on a fertility journey, trying to have a baby or trying to complete their families. So that's who it's primarily aimed at. But a lot of the readers who have already read it, including quite a lot of men, have said that part 2 of the book is really, really powerful. So part 1 of my book is my memoir. It's my journey. It's an inspiring story of hope and transformation and to not give up. And the second part of my book are all the tools, wisdom, insight that didn't just change my life, but saved my life, that people can implement in their life, regardless of whether they're going through infertility or not. So that's the feedback that I've had from the people that have read it already, that it's a much bigger audience than just fertility, which I'm really happy about, because I think we all need support. We all need to reach out to each other. We all need to know that it's okay to say, I'm not okay, and ask for help from other people and seek what we need this lifetime, because life can be very short. And I learned that the hard way too.
Your book really speaks on self-love, right?
Yes. It's a journey to self-love. It's a journey to self-love through PCOS, secondary infertility, and an IVF cycle that nearly ended my life. But what I thought was my fertility journey was just a coming home to self journey. I had hated my body. I'd resented it for all the things that it didn't do for me, all the things that were going wrong. I'd looked in the mirror for years and been ashamed of my body. And when I finally went on this journey, I was so grateful to my body. My body saved me. My body gave me that second chance. And so my relationship with my body, my relationship with myself fundamentally changed. And I promised myself I would never speak to myself in my head the way that I had been doing before. Those critical thoughts, that self-deprecation that we do, the things that we say to ourselves that we wouldn't dream of saying to anybody else. I put a stop to that. I'm not saying I've got it 100% perfectly, all the time, but I stop myself sooner. So the minute I can feel my mind going there, I stop and I go, take a step back. What are you doing? What are you saying? Let's have a think here. Is this going to serve you? No, it's not. Okay, take a breath. Let's refresh.
Did I hear you speaking of emotional intelligence? I'm listening to you. Is that emotional? Getting more of a grip as to, again, like you say, how you will respond even to yourself when certain actions occur, or even certain feelings come to you, then you will be able to have more of a control over it.
Yes. Yeah. You'd go from, I don't believe we have control in anything in life. I think my journey sort of taught me that, but we can be in charge. We can be in charge of how we respond rather than react, how we respond to life. We were going to be faced with so many challenges throughout our lifetime that we have no say in, but how we show up for ourselves and other people, we can change. And when we know, even just learning this information really helped me put everything in perspective. We have between 60 and 70,000 thoughts a day. 90% of those are repeated from the day before, and 80% of those are negative. So every single day we wake up and we're already kind of on the back foot, so to speak. We're already having to work quite hard to be there in a positive mindset for ourselves and to be able to tackle the day. And I think what's happened over the last couple of years is that people have started to understand that mind, body, spirit connection in a much deeper way. When we had all our privileges taken away, when we had connection with others taken away, and we were only left with self, that was when a lot of people for the first time actually had no distractions, no noise, and had to sit with themselves and go on that journey of who am I? Why am I here? What do I want and need in my life? Mm-hmm. And it's a confronting journey. It's challenging. But until we do that work, we're not living with authenticity. We're not living our best life. We're not doing what we came here to do. And every single one of us has a unique skill, gift, talent to be shared with the world. It's time. It's time.
That, you know what, very, like I said, very deep. And as I read even more, and I haven't had an opportunity yet, but I am going to want to tell you over the next few days, I'll be reading your book. But I did
Thank you.
go and I did listen to, like I said, the podcasts, and they were enjoyable. The one with Ambreen Nadine, and there was another gentleman that I heard you speaking with, and mainly what I heard from you was mainly how we have to love ourselves, and once we do take a hold of that and to nurture and beautify ourselves and understand again how the greatness that we have, then we have enough to share. And you were saying with others, be our own, as you said, heard you say cheerleader. Be
Yes.
cheer and so when I thought about you, every time I spotlight someone, I always think of one word that describes them for me. And for you, I could see confetti falling and cheerleadering, because I heard you say that in your podcast about being a cheerleading. And you do have to, because we're so critical a lot of times of ourselves, but we're out there stretching our hands out to help someone else, when you need to first get home in check first. Get things correct with ourselves, as you said, self-love, empower ourselves, and then we can definitely do so much more in the family, and even community-wise. We can do so much more to help others. And then
We can,
because
because
you were saying that you're the target audience right now. You said the couples, okay, women, of course. So mainly at this time, do you go into company businesses? Do you offer your services there, or just mainly just one-on-one, or maybe with small businesses? Or do you also go into larger businesses where they could use someone with your
I do.
expertise? So are you doing both, or just a smaller business?
At the moment, I'm doing the private coaching, and I'm doing a lot of speaking and writing and trying to get my message out that way. I'm very, very open to working with businesses and looking for partnerships, because that is where I see that I have the ability to be able to help both sides understand each other, because I've spent 10 years working in the corporate world. I understand the stresses and strains that it is to work in the corporate world, but I also understand the human side of what it is to be human, and how you navigate through those challenges when you're an employee. So to be able to kind of bring those two things together would be very, very powerful. So if anybody is listening and they realize that they need to provide better support, and one of the things that I'm very open to them reaching out to me, but one of the things that's come into Australia, which is amazing, is that there's a beautiful lady here called Samantha Payne, who has suffered miscarriage and really struggled with that. And she has gone to government and changed legislation around miscarriage leave. So now in Australia, we have miscarriage leave for both partners, which is so needed, so very needed. Each time I had a miscarriage, I literally went from the appointment that told me my baby had just died straight back into the office with a smile on my face, and I go to the next meeting and sort out everybody else's problem. And we didn't have the opportunity to grieve. So I'm very grateful for people like Samantha, who are advocating for other women and other men and couples to be able to go on that healing journey. Because if we do the healing now, in the present moment, we don't carry all of that baggage into the future. Because if we don't deal with our healing journey now, it always comes back to bite us. It will come up at a time that isn't great, because that's what the healing journey is. We're like an onion. You take off one layer of the onion and there's another one underneath. There's something else that needs looking at, something else that needs looking at, until you get to the root cause of the problem. And then you realize that all these patterns have been coming up for healing. You're being shown the same lessons. You're being shown the same patterns to heal the initial root cause, first pain point.
Do you offer webinars or workshop? There's some type of where people can actually attend and maybe learn from you? Or, and where are your other writing? So you say writing. Are there some articles out there that we could actually reach out to? Could you tell us? I would love, or I can even attach also to this video, letting the viewers know how they can reach out to you and read some of your articles, and also attend some of your, if there's any type of activity you have that they can attend. We would love to know more about it.
Sure. So I have written a multitude of articles over the years, and they are on my website. So I can certainly send you the link to my website for that, and they can read through those. I used to write for an international women's magazine, and I had a column in there for fertility, which was beautiful. And I will be running a masterclass, an infertility masterclass. I'm going overseas next month, but when I come back in July or August, I will be running that masterclass, and people will be very welcome to join me on that. So if people are listening to this and they want to sign up for that, do connect with me on social media or via my website, and I will be posting the information there. So I love connecting with people. Or send me an email to sarah@sarahwilloughby.com and just ask to be put on the waiting list, the mailing list, and I will make sure that I send an email to anybody who's expressed an interest in that event, because I'm doing a deep dive into mind, body, spirit, and the things that we can do for ourselves to put ourselves in the best place to be able to welcome a baby into the world. So from a mind, body, spirit perspective. And it's a different way of looking at things, because the fertility journey is a physical journey, and that's where all our focus gets put. If we just fix, in inverted commas, the physical side of our bodies, then everything else will just happen for us and we will miraculously fall pregnant. But that isn't often the case, because there's the emotional stuff that needs healing, there's the mental stuff, and there's the spiritual journey as well that we need to sort of look at. So it's all encompassing, and I want to create a really safe space for women to connect with other people, to realize that they're not alone, and to realize that with or without a baby, they are already enough. And that was the journey that I had to go on, and learned that regardless of whether I was blessed with another child or not, I did have a beautiful life, and I had a beautiful son, and I still had so much to offer the world. And I want other women to sort of really tap into their own potential and feel empowered to move through their journey with a bit more ease and grace, no matter what that looks like for them, to be able to take back some power in this, because it's a very disempowering journey.
Sarah, I really appreciated hearing what you just said about that you also, embrace women, those women who don't have children, because I do have, there are a few who are in my circle. My best friend never had a child, but my daughter calls her Aunt Diane. I mean, and she is family to her. So if anything ever happened to me, and I'm not sorry to say, it's just the way it is. I have I have sisters, sisters, of course, but my daughter is extremely close to her. And I mean, and they love each other. And that's what's important. My daughter has the association with my sisters, but she's extremely close to my best friend. I mean, very close. And she's given her that connection that you would have, with a daughter. She feels that way about my daughter. And I enjoy it, because I love the fact that my daughter has someone else, Sarah, she can reach out to. It's not just me, because I may not always be available or around, or something could happen where I'm not here. But I know my daughter will be in good hands. I know that she will.
How beautiful.
And I wanted to just tell you that we're at the conclusion right now of the spotlight. I wanted to ask if you'd like to say or invite audience to again to attend, or something you'd like to just maybe end with here of the spotlight.
Yeah, I just want to encourage people to really take some time to get still, sit with yourself, and ask yourself some really pertinent questions. Who am I? Am I happy? Am I living my best life? What is it that my heart is guiding me to do right now? And just start that journey, that connection back to self. You can connect with yourself in nature, just going for a walk. That's where we can find that stillness and that peace and that calm. Whatever it is that resonates with you, you know, for me, it's meditation. But a lot of people have put off meditation because they have this notion of what meditation is. But meditation can be as simple as just focusing on your breath for 2 minutes. Start with 2 minutes every day and just notice how your energy starts to shift and you start to feel a little bit calmer. I really encourage you to do that for yourself, because life is busy. Life can get super crazy and can be really stressful. And when we can take those snippets of time back and create space between our thoughts, we are able to look after ourselves in a different way. And the more we do it, the more we want to do it, the more benefit we feel. So if people want support to go on that journey back to themselves, if they're curious about developing their intuition, which has been my guiding light through my life, then I work with people in that space as well. So do reach out to me, connect with me. You can connect with me via my website, sarahwilloughby.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, Sarah Willoughby 2019, and Facebook and Instagram, Sarah Willoughby Australia. So basically search my name, you'll find me. Let's connect. You can book a free 30-minute consultation with me